All right, let's dive right into this explainer of Michael Kelleher's provocative manifesto, Only Human: How to Live Like a Human and Enjoy Your Life. What we're looking at here is a completely unfiltered, really profound examination of modern society. It focuses heavily on how we can escape what the author calls the modern consumer matrix. If you've ever felt like your life is just this exhausting, endless loop of working, scrolling, and buying stuff you don't even really need, well, this breakdown is going to completely shift your perspective.
So let's kick things off with a pretty shocking question from the author. It's one that challenges the very foundation of our daily reality. Are your thoughts really your own? According to the source material, the answer is a resounding no. Keller argues that our brains are essentially these biological supercomputers, and they've been programmed by our environment, by society, and by endless media consumption since the day we were born. We walk around thinking we're making these conscious, independent choices, but in reality, our brains are just feeding us opinions and desires that were completely planted there by external forces. And that brings us to this brilliant quote, which really captures Kelleher's core thesis. We are completely unaware of our own self-imposed slavery to comfort and consumption. We normalize this toxic lifestyle of fast food, screen addiction, and just constant distraction. We're literally trading our precious time, our life force, for these cheap, short-lived dopamine buzzes. We might be breathing, but as the author provocatively states, we are dead to nature, just sleepwalking through a prison we built ourselves.
That leads us into Section 1, the illusion of control, waking up from the matrix. Here's where it gets really interesting. To actually wake up, Kelleher argues we have to understand how our own biology is being used against us. Look at this stark contrast between the automatic, dopamine-addicted brain and the intentional, disciplined human we're actually meant to be. The text makes this fascinating distinction between you and your brain. Think of your brain as this faceless mechanism that always takes the easiest path. It desperately seeks instant dopamine, it absolutely hates change, and it operates entirely on autopilot. The conscious human, on the other hand, that's the boss. That's the part of you that uses discipline, seeks a natural baseline, and acts with clear intent. The core problem is that most of us just let the automatic brain drive the car. And this is what leads us to Kelleher's definition of the system. He describes this as an omnipresent architecture, a demonic global network that literally relies on our ignorance and our swelling egos to keep its power. The system is this massive culmination of corporate interests, media, and reactive healthcare that just bombards our senses nonstop. The author argues it floods us with fake desires, constantly telling us what to buy, how we should feel, and what we need to crave, all so we remain distracted, perfectly compliant consumers.
Which brings us to Section 2. Slaves to the system, the profit of poison.
So, let's agitate this problem a bit and look at who exactly is cashing in on our distracted lives. Kelleher argues that the system keeps us hooked on outright poisons, starting with the alcohol industry. He highlights that this industry rakes in an astronomical $2.3 trillion every single year. According to the text, alcohol is the second largest murderer on the planet. It actively degenerates the human brain and destroys lives, yet it's totally legal and culturally normalized. Basically, we, the consumers, are willingly opening our wallets to fund our own decline.
Then, right behind it, you have the tobacco industry, pulling in $1 trillion a year. The source material points out that this is the planet's #1 killer. And once again, it's entirely funded by compliant consumers whose brains have actually tricked them into believing that inhaling deadly toxins is somehow a form of pleasure. It's wild when you think about it. And finally, we look at the pharmaceutical industry, generating a massive $1.5 trillion. Now, Kelleher argues that this system relies heavily on reactive medicines. Rather than actually curing us, these medicines often just keep us dependent. The text makes the bold claim that simply curing humans wouldn't be a profitable business model. Instead, the system takes people who have been poisoned by ultra-processed foods and modern lifestyles and turns them into lifelong paying consumers. So, what's the big takeaway from all these numbers? The crucial point is that our sickness, our constant division, and our endless distraction are highly, highly profitable. The system actually thrives when we're at each other's throats, competing over egos, and craving things we absolutely don't need. For Kelleher, this means nobody is coming to save us. If we want to survive and genuinely enjoy our one shot at life, we have to grab the wheel and rewrite our own internal code. Moving right along to Section 3. The ancient Stoic cure, grounding the mind. To break out of this toxic loop, Kelleher looks backward to the timeless wisdom of ancient philosophers. You learn who you are by unlearning who they taught you to be. This is such a powerful idea. Our first big task isn't about learning some complicated new life hack. It's actually about stripping away all the fake opinions, the manufactured desires, and the societal programming that's been forcibly downloaded into our heads through screens and constant media exposure. In the text, the author basically treats Stoicism as a literal hack to bypass the brain's constant interference and get us back to nature's baseline. And to be clear, Stoicism isn't about just burying your emotions like a robot. According to Kelleher, it's a foundational philosophy designed to maximize your positive emotions, minimize the artificial negative ones your brain generates, and strictly focus on the things you actually have control over. We are faced with these stark daily choices between living in the modern matrix or living as a Stoic human. Just look at the Matrix side. It's a mindset of making excuses and complaining. You're constantly desiring external validation from social media and craving fast food, which ultimately just leads to a shorter, highly anxious life of endless consumption. Now, contrast that with the Stoic human. This is a mindset of deep contentment and self-awareness. You desire simplicity and nature, which yields true freedom and tranquility. The author points out that living the Stoic way naturally saves you an immense amount of money and stress simply because you stop wanting all the toxic garbage the system is trying to sell you. But as we transition to the actual practical solutions, you need to remember this ancient truth highlighted in the text. Reclaiming your mind requires a massive amount of patience. You are going into battle against a supercomputer brain that absolutely demands instant gratification. The second you try to change, your brain is going to flood you with excuses to stop. Patience is your #1 weapon against that intense internal resistance. All right, Section 4, Reclaiming Your Life, Daily Discipline for Freedom. So what does this actually look like day to day? Kelleher lays out a very specific step-by-step regimen he calls nature's requirements. It means completely cutting out ultra-processed foods, meat, and dairy, and really prioritizing natural nutrition and proper hydration. He also pushes for exercising alone, so avoiding gyms where ego and external validation are the main focus. It means reading actual physical books instead of staring at screens, and strictly capping your screen time to just 1 hour a day. But honestly, the most unique requirement here is intentionally practicing silence and exploring boredom. When you get bored, instead of instinctively reaching for your phone, the author challenges you to just sit with that uncomfortable feeling, interrogate it, and see what you can learn from it. Let's look at how to build this into a realistic daily routine. The absolute foundation is a strict, non-negotiable 8-hour sleep schedule. You are in bed by 11 p.m. and waking up at 7 a.m. 7 days a week. That consistency is what gives you the daily mental armor you need to fight your own brain. From there, you do a daily check-in with yourself, actively monitoring your thoughts and literally stopping complaints in their tracks before they even fully form. Now, this is a super important warning from the author. He says you need to treat your habits like a massive 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. If you try to change every single piece of your life overnight, your brain is going to go into total panic mode, and it will forcefully pull you right back into your toxic comfort zones. The key here is changing only one piece at a time. Slow, steady consistency is literally the only way to sneak past your brain's built-in defense mechanisms. Ultimately, Kelleher views discipline as the ultimate weapon against all those excuses our brains love to generate. We have to realize that our feelings are very often just biological traps set by a lazy brain trying to save energy. Real discipline means bypassing those feelings entirely. You take action because you are the boss, not your brain. So we're going to leave you with this final, incredibly provocative binary choice presented by the text. Every single day, you are making a choice. Are you ready to wake up, put in the really hard work of unlearning the matrix, and live a tranquil, intentional life? Or will you just let a self-serving system and an automatic, lazy brain dictate your fate? The power to change the puzzle is entirely in your hands.